Hey, this is your girl Forever Trina coming back at you with another Married at First Sight review. This is season 14, episode 6. If this is your first time with me, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Before we get started, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to get a notification when I drop a new video. All right, let's get started. So again, this is episode 6 entitled Dark Side of the Honeymoon. Ooh, let's see what's gonna happen here. So they're on their honeymoon. This is day 5 of their honeymoon. Couples are waking up. Each of them having just a small little confessional like, how was your night? How was your night? So I'll go through the different couples. I'll start with the couples that I have the least amount on, and then we'll end with the couples that I have a little bit more on. That will be Alyssa and Chris. So we'll start off with Noy and Steve. So they wake up, they have an excursion for that day, which is just going to the waterfall. One thing that Steve, the last episode last week, Steve was kind of disappointed that Noy was like, oh, you don't want to go camping? You don't want to go on adventures with me? You don't want to sleep outside with no indoor plumbing? She was like, no, I don't want to do that. So it's just amazing how he still has this thing in his head about adventures with my wife. Like, I really want to take adventures with my wife. So apparently Noy was a little bit nervous going to the waterfall. This was her first time at a waterfall. And so he was just like, it was a little weird that she was a little nervous, but she did it. So it's just, I don't know, it's just amazing how he's like, this is what I expected to do with my spouse. When you're that specific, again, I said this last week, when you're that specific about what you want, you don't need to be on the show. But anyway, she did it. I think he was teaching her how to float, and then he got bitten by a fish. His exact words were, a little fish bited my toe. I think that's what what came up on the screen, because you couldn't hear his words, but that's what they wrote. They bited his toe. Okay, Steve, let's work on your grammar there. But yeah, they're cute or whatever. Again, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm not super confident in them. They do get along. They have a lot of chemistry. I will admit that. But just from a preview, actually this is before the preview, I already thought about this, that the job situation, just certain comments that he's making, it just, again, I'm not totally sold on Steve. I just feel like he got some bones in his closet that we haven't seen all of them. But a preview did show Noy crying, which isn't new. She does cry. And basically talking about the finances. She's not used to not knowing about finances, and that's your security. You want to know that your man can support you. Not that you can't support yourself, but coming together, you want to just make sure you're on one accord as far as your finances. You want to make sure that they're providing, as well as you're coming together. You have a mutual agreement, which is we both got jobs. So we'll see where they go. Again, not super on board with them, but they're doing great so far. But again, it's just the honeymoon. So that's all I had on them. I didn't really have a lot on them. The next couple is Jasmine and Michael. Don't have much on them as well. So they seem to be doing a little bit better. Again, not a whole lot for them. They did have a meeting with Elijah and Katina. And of course, they're asking questions like, how are you guys getting along? And do you see why the experts matched you together? And so Jasmina is answering the questions like, yeah, we have a lot in common. And then she mentioned some differences. And then it's like they felt the same way about each other, but like vice versa. Like Jasmine was like, I feel like I'm more open, and then he's a little bit more closed off, and he was just like, I feel that about you. I feel that I'm more open and you're closed off. So it just seems like they're having some communication issues. I feel that they're still very much in their heads, and if they get out of their heads, then it can possibly go well. Looking at the previews, it ain't looking so good. I would love for them to work. I really, really, really would love for them to work. But again, I think they just need to get out of their heads. They are super, super, just both of them on both sides in their heads for different reasons. So again, I like them as a couple. but I need them to get out of their heads. They did do one excursion, which was they went to the waterfall like Steve and Noy, and it seemed like they were trying. Jasmine was smiling, like I said last time. She didn't smile a whole lot. I think she just has a resting, blessed face, and so she just doesn't smile often, a lot at all. So he did mention that, hey, this is the first time I've seen her smile since the wedding, which you don't see her smile a lot. It's here and there, but she really just has this very serious face most of the time. So it seemed like they were trying to get out of their comfort zone and try to vibe a little bit, a very, very little bit. So another thing, oh yeah, when they were with Elijah and Katina, one thing that Michael said, because the next couple I'll talk about is Katina and Elijah, but one thing that Michael said was Elijah is very aggressive and he's very pushy, and he was like, in a way that's good to push your spouse outside of their comfort zone, but you still need to read the room. And when you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, you don't want to push to the point where she get pissed off. And I think in their situation, Katina was starting to get pissed off a little bit. So Michael was just saying, hey, he's good at course correcting, like seeing where he did wrong and like changing that. But he was like, he's definitely gonna have to keep an eye on that, or that will, not end up good in the relationship. So that was actually really good advice. Like Michael, when he talks to the camera, and even when he's like some of the stuff that he says to Jasmina, it's very thoughtful. As far as it's logical, it's well thought out. So he knows how to articulate himself. But again, he's just super into his head. So that's all that I have about Jasmine and Michael. Again, super, super short. Wasn't a whole lot on them this episode. I just really want them to get out of their heads and just enjoy it. Just be in the moment, enjoy the experience. So that's all I have for them. The next couple is Katina and Elijah. So for their excursion, they went horseback riding. Katina is nervous. She's like, I ain't never been horseback riding. It's just like, okay, Katina, but it's okay. She said she didn't like animals. So she was stepping outside her comfort zone. So that's what I appreciate. There's been past seasons where the female Alyssa for this season, but she's just a whole nother, anyway, let's not talk about her. When they're not comfortable with something or they've never done something before, they don't step outside of that. They're just like, well, I've never done that before, I don't want to do it. It's just like, just try it. I'm this person, I'll try it for the most part. So I was happy that she at least tried it. It's okay to be nervous, that's not her thing. But to try it. But Elijah was super pushy. He was just like, come on, don't be scared. Like, then you listen to the lady. He just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And she even said, yo, you are pissing me off right now. And he still was just like, I ain't gonna, I'm not gonna stop doing stuff because my wife don't want to do that. That's she need to be doing. He was just too pushy. And so I think later on in the episode, they must have had a side conversation. They did have a conversation after that, but I think they probably had another conversation where it was just like, bruh, you need to fall back. Like, this is a lot. You can't push because you want to, you do want your spouse to kind of get out their comfort zone. Especially when you get to a certain age, you're used to doing what you do. That's what you do. But you want them to experience new things with you. But there's a way to go about that. And just the way he was doing it, it was like he was her counselor. Like, I'm gonna help you overcome your fears. She didn't come on her honeymoon to overcome her fears. She don't really care right now. She'll do it because she's with you and she wants to, enjoy her time with you. But this is not an intervention of how she can overcome her fears. So Elijah, chill out. So that was their little excursion. He just seemed like super, super frustrated with her. His patience was really short. Yeah. And so I think she needs to pay attention to that, though. And she has brought up that he is aggressive in how he speaks and he's pushy. But I think I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it's definitely a yellow flag. And it's definitely one to look out for because it seems like he gets, I don't want to say unglued, but he gets frustrated easy. And then he just keeps going off at the mouth. And so that I can see being a thing. I would just, if I was Christina, I definitely would pay attention. I would pay attention to that. Dr. Viviana, she actually said it perfectly. She says you have to understand the boundaries and fears of your spouse. So although you do want to push them past their comfort level, you do need to, this is all about learning what their boundaries are, learning what their fears are, and working within them and seeing how far you can push them without pushing them like out. So she said it perfectly. Understand their boundaries and fears, the fears of your spouse. So when this is another one that this was Elijah, he was in a confessional talking about the Chris and Alyssa situation. Like I said, like Elijah literally, sometimes he's so insightful and sometimes he's such an idiot. It's like, it's amazing how something really logical and smart can come out of the same mouth as something really stupid. And so one thing, when he was assessing the Chris and Alyssa situation, he was just like, he was frustrated with Alyssa. He was like, this was, and I'll go into the dinner situation, but Elijah was just like, this is love. Like, Chris is displaying the epitome of love. He is basically embarrassing himself. He's pouring out his heart. He's saying, he actually said this, and this is actually super deep. He was just like, if I see you put 1% in, I will put the 100% in. I was like, bruh, they're like some doggone, I don't know, some vows or something. Like, I just need to see your 1%. I'll match your 1 with 100. And so he's like putting it all on the line. So Elijah was just like, what's wrong with this chick? Like, he's literally, he's just putting it all out there. And he was just like, I feel so bad for him. But just what he said in his confessional, it was really heartfelt. You could tell he really meant it. Again, sometimes Elijah was saying really, really sweet and nice and logical things. And the other times you just be like, just stay silent next time, Elijah. But no, I definitely want to give him props for saying that. I agree with everything he said. He was on point with that. But that's all I have for them. Next couple we have is Lindsey and Mark. So they made up from their fight from last week, which is good. They definitely seem to have squashed it and they bounced back. I think as couples, you're gonna fight. It is what it is. You're new. You're two different people. You're not the same people. Like me and my husband were in counseling, marriage counseling, and our counselor was just like, y'all both got different DNA. That right there says a lot. Like, you're gonna think differently. You're gonna do things differently. You have different experiences. Things are different. You're gonna communicate differently. So once you come together, it's all about how do we combine those differences. So I think the bounce back factor is really good, where you can fight, you can argue, and you can bounce back from it. I think one thing about Jasmine and Michael, not so much Michael, I can't really, it hasn't stood out too as much for him, but definitely for Jasmine, she holds on to things. Like, he, just from the beginning of the honeymoon, when they had their first little tiff, and then they had their second little tiff, she just holds on to it. And it's like, in marriage, you gotta let that ish go. I went to it was like a ladies gala it was at my cousin's church, and it was a bunch of ladies that I was sitting at a table with, and they all had been married like 25 plus years. And my cousin was just like, so what's the secret? Like, what advice can you give us? And one lady was like, grace and forgiveness. She was just like, you have to learn to give grace and you got to learn to forgive. That is how you get through marriage. So it's a constant thing. It's a constant providing grace to your spouse and then constantly forgiving. I'm gonna do some stupid shit and they gonna do some stupid shit. And so you gotta learn to get over that. And Jasmine, I think she grabs hold of it and she just doesn't let go. So that's gonna be a tough one. She's gonna have to learn to work through, or it's not gonna work. She'll give up. So Mark and Lindsey, they back on good terms. One thing that Mark did that was so super sweet, he was like, okay, let's pray over our food. I was like, Mark, you better pray over your food. You better pray. And then, of course, that led to a religious conversation. But like, so I just prayed. I'm not sure. Are you religious? Like, what's your thing with that? And she kind of proceeded to say, yeah, I do want my children raised in church once they get to a certain age and they're able to truly understand if they choose not to go to church. She's like, I don't want to force them. Cool. So it seems like they are somewhat on the same page with that. Mark probably has a slightly different views, and I'm sure their views are slightly different because even me and my husband, we're both Christians, but our views are still how we believe. Some of our things they don't align. We believe in Jesus Christ. That is the solid alignment, but there's other things that we just grew up with differently. He's a PK. His dad's a pastor, so he grew up seeing different things. So, and he learned different things than what I learned. We went to different churches. We learned different. I don't want to say different religions, but we just experienced different things. So there's different. We just believe differently. So it's gonna happen. You just have to figure out a way to align or just align on that. It could definitely work out, but it's definitely a conversation that you have to have. So that was their conversation. Then they had a conversation about kids. It seems like Lindsey wants a large family. Mark, I love Mark. Mark the Shark, I love you so much. He was just like, because he was like, how many kids do you want, Lindsey? She was like, I want a big family. I want, what'd she say, 2 or 4? She don't want 3. She said 2 or 4. For some reason, she don't want 3. And then, of course, she asked him, how many kids do you want? And he was just like, depends on how much I can afford. I said, bro, you better go ahead with that. Depends on how much you could afford. Absolutely. My computer is dying. Hopefully, I can get through this video without it dying on me. So, yeah, that's Mark. He was just like, it depends on how much I can afford, bro. So definitely, I'm so on board for Mark with the prayer conversation, with the whole logical thinking of the kids. Depends on how much I can afford. So with him on that. There was another situation that came up, like Mark's landlord just kept calling, and then it seems like she changed his rental agreement in the middle of the honeymoon, and something to do with the cats. I don't know if all the cats was at his house, like all 5 of them or just the 3, and she decided you can't have cats anymore. Anyway, she just kept calling and calling, texting. And so Lindsey was just like, all right, this is how we're going to handle the situation. We're going to do boom, 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 boom. When we get back, then we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And Mark was like, okay. Honestly, even though Mark was like, yeah, okay, I think he was scared. I really think he was scared. It just seemed like he was like, okay, like, thank you for having my back. But I think there was a bit of fear in there as well. Like, oh my gosh, this chick is controlling my life. She just seems a bit controlling. Again, she has a really strong personality. And if Mark doesn't speak up, she will control him. He doesn't seem like the guy who is easily controlled, but I think at first he'll listen. But then after a while, I think kind of like the situation last week where things were kind of just snowballing, and he was like, oh, let's pump the brakes a little bit. So I think initially he'll go along with stuff, but at the end he'll be like, nah, this is not what I'm going to do with my life. So the last note I have for them is, Mark, I'm sorry you have a Lindsey. She's a lot in a whole lot of ways. But anyway, next couple, is this my last couple? Oh my God, this is my last couple. I actually have a lot of notes for them. This is Alyssa and Chris. I'm gonna try to go through this one really quickly because it's not a whole lot different than what I've already thought about Alyssa and Chris. I don't like Alyssa. Chris was starting to get on my nerves, but actually he started turning around in this episode. So I do like the fact that he's starting to grow some balls and actually speak up for himself. Because first it was just like about Alyssa, whatever Alyssa wants, I will do. Oh, I'm so sorry, Alyssa, for just breathing. And it's just like, no, Alyssa, you should be sorry for breathing. Like, she needs to take some type of ownership. Like, he was taking ownership of everything, and it was just like, no, this is not on you, Chris. So this episode, I was really happy to see him put some of that onus back on her. And I was just like, yes, Chris, yes, I'm starting to respect you, because I was losing respect. But anyway, they started off. They do the confessional. Chris is alone still. And then in Alyssa's confessional, she's saying a bunch of words. I didn't really listen to what she was saying because she pretty much says the same thing. Like, why am I here? Why is this happening to me? It doesn't really change. Yeah, but in Chris's confessional, he was like, Alyssa said that she wants me to be more husbandly, but she has yet to be more wifely. Exactly. Again, she's a brat. She wants everything. It's all about her. It doesn't matter about how Chris feels. It doesn't matter about anything else. It's about her and how she feels and how life is unfair for her right now and how she's putting her all in, but she's really not. But in her eyes, she is. Again, delusional. Oh my God. So Pastor Cal came on and he was like, they're monitoring this situation with Chris and Alyssa, like the experts, like us, the experts. We're monitoring this situation to see how things are going. And so they, I guess, I'm thinking they set it up. They set up a little tennis activity for them to do something super low key. And so they did that. Chris, of course, is giving his all. Alyssa, she's being Alyssa. Chris just got so much. He got so much hope. He was just happy the girl showed up, honestly. And he's still saying stuff like, on paper, we're a great fit. She's so fun loving. That's that word again, fun and loving. We already talked about this the last 2 episodes. Fun and loving shouldn't be in the same sentence with Alyssa, but for some reason it keeps coming up in the same sentence. Don't know why. Anyway, so they played tennis for a little bit, and then they sat down and talked. Alyssa's still feeling like she's doing her best. They had this discussion about after the honeymoon, like what's going to happen after the honeymoon, like moving into the apartment. And true to Alyssa form, she's whining about the woe is me. She basically wants her cake and eat it too. So basically she wants to move into the apartments, but she doesn't want to move in with him. She says she wants the experience. She said it's not fair to her to not be able to be involved in the experience just because she doesn't want to be with him. Alyssa, the point of the show is to be married at first sight. It's not to be living you can live separate in this experience, because I have seen in past episodes couples do that, where one person's in an apartment and the other person they're at home. So if you want to do that, but you literally were saying, well, if the girls want to go out, I want to be there. I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to hang out with them. So again, you're saying everything opposite of what you should be saying. It should be like, I want to get to know you, Chris. I want to learn about you, Chris. It needs to be about him, but it's literally about, and he mentioned it later. She keeps talking about the experience, but not once has she said anything about like him. She just wants the experience. And then later on, it was a couple's dinner. Chris was just like, yo, I don't want to, like, he was like, y'all are cool. Like, you know, everyone here, all you other couples, I like you. But at the end of the day, I ain't come here for y'all. I came here to meet a wife and to be a husband and to create a life with that person. So I ain't here for y'all. But it seems like Alyssa is very much in it because she don't like him. She wants to hang out with the other couples, but the other couples trying to get they spouses. So it's just everything she's saying is just it's just so freaking twisted. So at some point after they were talking about the moving situation and she was saying it was so unfair, she went to go talk to the producer. She was saying how she's been so positive, how she's been taking the high road, but then the same breath, she was like, I hate him. He's such an asshole. He's rude. He's doing her dirty. And I'm just like, Alyssa, what? I mean, unless there's something going on behind the cameras, which I really don't think there is. I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand. But basically she was just like, I'm not going to be happy if I'm portrayed in a bad light, because that's not who I am. I'm a good person. And my mom is mad at me because she's thinking that I'm treating him mean. You are. And you are going to be portrayed like a bad person because you're being a little brat. You're being an entitled little brat. And so all of that's going to be seen on camera. Yes. And looking at the angles of them cameras, you probably don't know you on camera. Because some of them angles be like low. And they in a bush somewhere kind of hiding. And like listening to the whole conversation. So yeah, you're going to be looking really crazy on camera. So sorry, they already got you. It is what it is. Cat's out the bag. But yeah, so Chris chats with his friend, and he was just like, yeah, I think her mom or somebody was saying the type of person she is, and that you would vibe with her, like she needs someone like you, because she does get kind of angry and gets attitudes and things like that, and you could be like the calm to her storm. So her mom said that, and I guess maybe someone else at the wedding, the friend was saying, and then the friend at some point was just like, you may eventually just want to cut your losses. So I don't know what Chris is going to decide to do. I think he's really waiting for her to say, I don't want you. I am not attracted to you. I don't want to be with you. I think she's too prideful to say those words. She wants it to be his fault. She wants him to be the one to be like, I want to be out the divorce. And she'd be like, see, I tried it. See, he's the one who wants to be out of this. I tried. I stayed here. Because she keeps saying, if I wasn't trying, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting next to you. Because when they were at dinner, she was sitting next to them, which I was surprised they were sitting next to each other. Because the way the camera was, they would show her and then show him, but they never showed him in the same frame. So eventually they did. I think it was after she was just like, I wouldn't be sitting here next to you. But the way they kept cutting it, it looked like in the way they were facing, it didn't look like they were sitting next to each other, but they actually were. So she was like, I wouldn't be trying. I could have had every opportunity to leave, and I didn't. I am here. So again, she is gung ho on I am trying. The chick ain't trying at all. Like he says, we don't talk on camera, we don't talk off camera. She does everything in her power just not to be around me. And she's shown that. She's shown that to happen on camera. There was another conversation with Katina, Jasmine, and Alyssa. And Jasmine was like, so do you feel like you did everything in your power to make this work? Of course, Alyssa, again, yes. And then Katina, she actually, asked her some questions, tried to speak a little knowledge into her, and was straight up and was just like, I mean, if you're not physically attracted to him, just say that. Just, he doesn't know. He's going around here not knowing what's up. Just tell him how you feel. And, just to give him a little bit of insight on, what the situation is. But in Jasmine's confessional, she was just like, she doesn't feel like she's giving her own trash, and she feels sorry for Chris. Several of them said they feel sorry. Like Mark was like, he feels sorry. Elijah said it. Jasmine said it. Like everyone is really feeling for Chris. And at this point, I am too. But Chris definitely, again, he's holding on to hope at the beginning of the episode. But towards the end, like the tide started switching, he was just like, no, I'm not on board for this. This is what I came for, and this is what I didn't come for. So I'm going to put this straight forward. I'm going to put the ball back in your court, and I'm going to hold you to the fire. Do you want to be here? Do you want this process? I told you where I am and what I want to do. What do you want to do? She still ain't answered the question. Oh gosh. So she continues to leave him in limbo. Again, they had the couple's dinner. And it was based at the dinner. I think it was at the dinner where Alyssa was just like, I think it was Noy. Noy had asked about, so when everyone's pretty much planning on moving in together, what do you guys plan on doing? And she came out her mouth and was just like, well, maybe he can move in for the first three weeks. And then I move in for the last 3 weeks or whatever the split is, and we can do it like that. And then Chris was like, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. He said, I'm not playing, the divorced parents with this. You get this week and I get this week. He was like, no. He said, I came here to have the experience. And he was just like, I'm not doing that. And then, of course, on the side, Alyssa was just like, see, he doesn't want to compromise. He doesn't even want to compromise. And, you can't compromise the experience. The experience and the experiment is what it is. You can't compromise that. And even one of the producers was like, this is married at first sight, not married at, he said not single at first sight. I was like, you better go ahead, bro. And so producers, sometimes I'm on their side, sometimes I'm not on their side. Because another part when Alyssa and Alyssa and Chris were talking, Chris was just, the producer was just like, well, Chris, can you give her some more time? She needs more time to figure things out. And I was just like, he's giving her time and time. He gave her 5 days of the honeymoon. He's given her time. She said at the dinner that I just need more time. I don't want to say it in this forum with everyone else around. Bet. All right, now we by ourselves. Let's talk. Still don't want to talk. She still gets into her crying, whining, you're being disrespectful, you're not honoring or respecting, you know, what I'm saying. You not listening. It was just, it's gaslighting to the 10th power, honestly. Is really what it was. So that's it for this week's review. The honeymoon is over. They're heading back to Boston. So next week we'll see the couples as they move into their shared apartment and see how things go. All right, thanks again for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy my review. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you again here next week.